Hello and welcome back to...
Fuck this game! Sorry, I had to get that out right at the top.
Alright, good. And welcome back to episode 2 of Classic Mode? Fuck's sake. Classic Mode. I am Max. I'm here with Keanen, Kyle, and an Italian.
That's me.
To talk you through...
The real life Mario.
The real life Mario. We got him here for you today. Give us a little...
He also agrees that this game is shit.
Yahoo! It's me, the Italian.
Perfect. The real specimen right there. We are back to talk about an old game that we played and what we done thunk it was.
This is a great intro, I've got to say.
I know, I'm good at these.
I remember when we were doing the first episode, I made a decision in my head, and I don't know if I followed it through perfectly, but I made the decision, you know what, we're kind of talking intelligently, I'm going to try to not swear too much. Well, fuck that with this one. I need use of my full vocabulary to explain, to illustrate the dog shit that is this game.
Alright, well, let's just chill out, right? Let's just chill out.
You chill out. I'm chill as fuck, bro. What up?
Shut up. So to introduce this game we played through this week, it was Super Mario Sunshine. Everyone's favourite water-based 3D Mario game. Right, guys?
The only water-based 3D Mario game.
Yeah, and therefore the best one. Easy. So I suppose we should go through each of us and talk about briefly what we expected of the game before going into it. In future episodes, we'll have this at the end of the previous one. But because we didn't do that last episode, we have to do it now. So let's start with Keanen. Tell us, what did you expect to get and experience going into Super Mario Sunshine for the first time?
So this was one of the games that I had as a kid, and I really enjoyed it. I never finished it when I was younger. It took me a few years to get through it. But one of the things that I remember quite well was that it was a very difficult game. And that worried me now, because a lot of the games that I found very difficult from around that time turned out to be really glitchy or broken games when I came back to them later on. Yeah, I expected good things. I remember it being very different to the other games, but
okay.
Yeah.
So as a newcomer to the show, Nico, why don't we head over to you next and you tell us what you expected going into Super Mario Sunshine?
Well, I've never actually played this game properly. Like it seems to be one of those games that I always heard about, and I always heard
about how good it was, right?
Yeah, sure. It's an interesting game. Let's say that.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's always something that I kind of just heard as being different, but I never actually got to it. Okay, well, there's 3D collections coming out. I can play all 3 of these games. I can finally play this game and just experience what the hell everyone's going on about. So what I expected going into it was, okay, you had 64, you had this great concept of a 3D platformer, which is very buggy, very broken in places. So I thought, you know what? They're probably going to learn from most mistakes. They're going to think, we've got 6 years since 64 in Sunshine? Something like that. So
6
I thought,
years.
I don't know.
and enough time to, figure out the bugs, figure out the little kinks here and there, and make a pretty decent sequel. That's all I was expecting. I didn't really expect anything about it being different or what the gameplay would be. I was just expecting something that was better than 64, I guess. It's my expectations.
Okay. Yeah. Kyle,
Hmm.
would you like to explain to the class?
No, I'd like you to go first.
You want me to go first? Okay.
Yes.
Sure.
I'd like to use mine to set the tone for the rest of the episode. So you go next.
So, I expected... So, Super Mario 64 is the baseline, and then Odyssey is, the top. And I was kind of expecting to see a linear progression in quality up through them. So, kind of echoing what Nico said, I expected it to be, another solid game with still some problems, but a lot more ironed out compared to Super Mario 64. But still very much a product of its time, being maybe a little bit janky and have some issues here and there, or potentially more than that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Kyle.
I actually played this game some years ago. No, I can't remember exactly when.
When I was but a boy.
When I was but a lad.
So we nipper.
Not yet exposed to the horrors of this world. I played this game, and I got a little ways through it. I think I remember that I got at least far enough that I unlocked Noki Bay, though I never actually went into it because I couldn't figure out how. Yeah, I stopped playing it. I never finished it, and I always thought it was just because I never got around to it, or because I kind of got stuck and I never figured out how to. I could never be bothered to figure it out or look it up. Yeah, I was really expecting, like, I didn't really remember how I felt about it at the time, so I was expecting, especially considering how much people, the way people talk about Mario Sunshine, even Max, who isn't the biggest fan of platformers.
I'm not, this is true.
Like, I love that game, so I was expecting a solid game, and frankly, that's just not what I got. I think maybe the fact that I didn't finish the game, like, because this is after I played Mario Galaxy, right, which was like my favorite game. So I loved 3D Mario by this point. So the fact that I didn't even finish Sunshine, I feel like speaks more to how I felt about it than even I realized at the time.
I've been looking forward to this for a while. Even with Super Mario 64, we all kind of agreed on the same sticking points. The difference came into how much they affected us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Based on the kind of discussions we've had, we seem to have completely differing opinions. So I'm pretty excited to get into that. So I feel like it's only right. Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
In a word, Kyle.
Uh-huh.
I'll give
one
you 2
word?
words. I'll give you 2 words.
Okay.
I'll give you 2 words.
Okay.
Briefly sum up your experiences of replaying Super Mario Sunshine.
Super shit. I was just going to say shit, but you gave me that other word.
I gave you the extra word, so you needed. Well, before we delve into the specifics, I just want to kind of go around and get everyone's... So yeah, first, I'll start with you anyway, Carl. A brief kind of overview.
I fucking hate it.
Jesus.
That's as brief as it gets. It's a really good game buried under a mountain of bad decisions.
Fuck it. That's a tagline right there.
Like with most Nintendo games that you can that don't pan out, you can see that the reason it didn't pan out was not through lack of effort or desire. They clearly wanted to make a fantastic game, and there's a lot of great passion and love behind the game. But also there's a fuck ton of batshit crazy decisions that I cannot believe came out of Nintendo. Like, usually they are the, masters of game design. It's the only reason they've lived as long as they have, is they just know how to make games. And you would not think that from this game.
Alright.
Who's next?
Nico, how about we go with you?
I think going off what I said earlier about my expectations. Now, I don't want to make it sound like I had huge expectations, because obviously, a product of its time, you go into, like, any game that Nintendo's come up with from that generation, and there's going to be some flaws, right? But I think from what Kyle said, I can see what they're going for, and there are some really good bits of that game. But like Kyle said, it's just buried under such questionable and weird design decisions, either through they just didn't know any better, or just skipped over it, or they were rushed through it. I don't know what happened in that development, but it just seems so odd. Again, I wanted to like it, and I just came out just disappointed. Well, actually, I didn't come out disappointed. I beat the game disappointed. And then I 100%ed the game. And then I came out just really fucking frustrated. Like, really fucking mad about the game.
Yeah.
So it just did not get better after I beat that game. It just got worse.
Let's head over to Keanen.
So, I'm going to take a slightly different stance to what you might expect. And I'm going to say that I think I enjoyed it. But the last time I said I thought I enjoyed something was The Last Jedi.
Oof.
Oh,
So-
that's a mood right there.
Oh, God. I remember that.
Yeah. Kyle, you 100%ed this game as well, didn't you?
Regretfully.
Yeah. I didn't 100% this one. I collected all the shines that you can get in all the levels, and the secret shines in the levels in Delfino. And I collected any blue coins I came across. And I ended up with 189, which is a large majority of them, but not all of them. There's a lot that I really like in this game. It does a lot that I like and a lot that I want to like, but it's overshadowed by such frustrating level design, and some of the episodes in particular are just awful. Like, they're just not fun to play. They're either so frustrating or so boring that you don't want to beat them. And then you've got reused content and things like that. It's a weird one for me. I'm still fully trying to figure out where I stand on it, but yeah.
Max, what do you think? Like it matters.
Okay.
Heretic.
So, I enjoyed this game a lot more than I thought I would. Going from, I think, like I said, I expected like a linear progression up to kind of from 64 to kind of where we were with Odyssey. But I honestly, like, felt that aside from maybe 2 or 3 episodes, I enjoyed every single bit of it I played. I didn't have, I mean, I know it's been mentioned a few times, but, like, control issues are apparently a thing that you guys encountered. And I cannot say the same thing. And I feel like, speaking of someone who doesn't really play and is not good at platformers, that's an interesting juxtaposition.
It is.
It does make me wonder if there might be some more underlying stuff, like technical stuff, but it does make me wonder if it's because it is one of the 3D platformers you played when you were younger, so that's what you expect from them.
Possibly. I guess I suppose I should. So I didn't 100% it. I obviously did 7 shrines in each level. And then I collected some of the additional shrines around Delfino Plaza, and I got like maybe 3 or 4 shines from blue coins. So in the grand scheme of things, I didn't really get anywhere close to 100% completing it, but I completed it, which is more than I say for a 64.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
And yeah, like Keanen mentioned, I did play it when I was younger, but when I was like a lot younger. Like, I must have been at primary school, so...
We played it around the same time.
let's get into these controls then.
Alright, Carl, why don't you start us off?
Alright, well, firstly, let's start with some positive things. Because...
It's gonna be a short list.
Yeah. I mean, well, firstly, just, I'm sure we can all agree that the concept of Flood itself, I think, is great.
Yes.
And I think for the most part, they integrated it very, very well. Like, I think the whole spraying stuff allows for a lot of fun interactions with the world, and I think the hover mode is, for the most part, fun. Feels like a natural extension to the existing platformer moveset. Most of the problems, honestly, come more with Mario himself as opposed to Flood. First thing that I noticed very early on was that it seems like they purposefully gave Mario very limited air control, as in being able to adjust your movement in the air. Like in Mario 64, if you jump in such a way, you're like, oh shit, I'm going to go off this ledge. You can pull back in the other direction. It'll stop your momentum and bring you back the other way to allow you to come back onto that platform. There's like none of that in this game, and I feel like it's because they wanted you to learn to use Flood. They wanted you to use the hover mode, which is fine until the levels where they take away Flood from you, which happens constantly, and then it just feels shit.
Just quickly going to interject here. The secret levels were some of my favourite levels in the entire game.
Of course they were.
Aside from that one at the end in Pianta Village.
Oh, the Chucksters.
The Chucksters, yeah. Aside from that, fuck that one. But like, aside from that, some of the areas where I felt the most enjoyment were the secret levels. But I think that might be down to how we play the game.
Possibly.
I don't control Mario in the air.
Really? At all?
I line up my jump, and I run and I take the jump, and then if I miss it, tough shit.
That's probably why you sucked at Mario 64, man.
Probably. More than likely. But we're not talking about Mario 64, we're talking about Super Mario Sunshine right now.
Well, now I understand. It will make sense now. This is the inconsistency right here.
Yes.
You just don't know how to play platformers.
Yeah, I do. No, you're right. And I alluded to this before, Kyle. Like, you, Keanen, and Nico are all coming in with this preconceived idea of how a platformer, like a traditional platformer, is supposed to play. And I think Super Mario Sunshine, for better or worse, goes, nah, fuck you.
For worse. It's definitely for worse.
I mean, I think it's for better, but whatever.
But how is it for better when it doesn't really matter to you because you weren't using it either way with the air control?
Because I think that let them design around Flood more.
Even in the levels where you don't have Flood?
Well, levels in don't have Flood are an exception.
So surely, if they knew they were taking away Flood from you, they should have designed the moveset to accommodate for both playstyles.
Unless they wanted to give people a challenge when they didn't have Flood.
That's not a challenge, that's just unnecessary difficulty.
This game is the definition of unnecessary difficulty.
I don't think a game changing the conventions is unnecessary difficulty. You could say it's alienating the old player base. That's a valid fact.
The whole idea of having air control in a platformer is that you're giving the player a chance to take back the decision they made, so that they can correct themselves and keep playing and keep having fun without
fuck
dying.
you. Commit to your decision.
Okay.
I actually kind of... This is going to sound like a really weird comparison. You might think I'm kind of crazy here. When I played the secret levels in particular, because they are so punishing if you fuck up, it kind of reminded me of playing Dark Souls.
Okay.
I know everyone's going,
elaborate. No,
fuck are you on about, Max? So, for example, I would come up to a jump, let's say, and I'd be like, okay, how do I do it? And then I would try something, and then I would fail. I'm like, okay, that doesn't work. And then I'd go back to the same jump, and I would look at it with the new information that I had, having failed it, right?
Right.
And that feels similar, at least to me, of the process of beating a Dark Souls boss, or I suppose any Souls-like game. Is that, okay, that would work, so I need to try this, and then you learn certain things about that encounter as you're doing it.
I think that's the difference with this game that I feel like to normal platformers. Normal platformers usually feel quite instinctual. You just go up to something and you just do what you think works, right? So, it feels like a problem rather than the game trying to be like, no, you have to sit there and figure out how you're going to do this, which I think just comes into the different playstyles.
Yeah, and I think that's prevalent across other genres as well. I feel like the idea of changing the conventions of a game or removing particular mechanics that players might be used to is neither good nor bad, it's just different.
I made a point to Keanen a week ago that I had the thought whilst playing Mario Sunshine. I was like, this is a game made for masochists. And then I thought to myself, oh, Max plays Dota. Of course he likes this game.
But no, I think that's right as well. People say the same thing about Dark Souls. And I think it does very much have an element of that try again type thing.
Yeah.
I can't think of any specific examples of this, but I have to wonder if having air control as opposed to using flood opened up just too many ways to trivialize certain levels.
Possibly, but then they should have just adjusted the game design to match
They
the
could
controls.
do, but then maybe, counterpoint to that, they felt that it removed the emphasis from flood too much.
I feel
and
like
they were like, no, we really want a pillar of this game to be people using flood.
If that was their thinking, they were wrong.
I feel like that would make sense if the game was designed in such a way that levels could be played with or without flood, because then you'd have to take into account players doing it either way. But the game's specifically designed so that certain levels are played with flood and certain levels are played without. So there's no reason why they couldn't design the flood levels specifically so that they're only really playable if you have flood, even with even with reasonable air control on Mario. I don't see why they couldn't have done that. I don't.
Well, so I'm going to go back, actually, and talk about the secret levels. Now, I know it's probably clear at this point that I just didn't like this game, but I actually did like some of the secret levels. And I think they were actually some of my favourite portions, but there were issues with it. And I just kind of... The problem I feel like with the secret levels, the secret shrines, is it just felt like they kind of threw it together. It was essentially the developer's playground to just kind of chuck shit there and just see, fuck it, this will be fun to someone, I guess. Like, it didn't really feel like they really thought it through with the controls in mind, because without stuff like air control, it just makes some parts really frustrating because you just fall and you feel like, there we go, I'm dead. I can't do anything about this.
I want to nail in on that quickly. Can you remember any specific parts where you thought, God, if only I had air control?
Many.
Not because I want you to prove it, but because I want to find a place where we can directly compare what we did. So the one that comes to mind is one where there are... You can walk up to the platform and then there are 3 circles of spinning mini platforms that go in on each other. That was very much an area where I stood and took my time and made sure the jumps lined up. I assume that's the kind of thing you mean.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I'll still take time to line up jumps, but sometimes they won't be perfect, and it'll be like, okay, I'll just adjust it. Oh no, I've already got it.
I'll sit there and I'll wait for 30 seconds for the platform to do multiple left and rights before I take the jump.
But that's not fun.
I find it fun.
I don't.
I enjoy that aspect of strategizing and being like, okay, so I need to jump this. Actually, really good example. It's like the second secret level where they have the red and the blue platforms that rotate.
The one that spin around here.
Yeah. I literally sat there for a good 3 minutes, visually working out which platforms spin when and what route I need to take. And then I did one jump slowly, each time I did it slowly.
So this is the difference, because I just went straight in and just saw them jumping and tried to jump to go over the flip, essentially.
Yeah.
Which,
the
problem is it's not a strategy game, it's a platformer. It makes no sense that I have to sit there. And I feel like a lot of this game is just, I have to sit there, strategize, think about it, and I'm like, this isn't a Mario game.
This actually brings me to a point I wanted to make. I genuinely feel this game is not a platformer, it's a puzzle game. Legit, this game is Mario Sunshine is a fucking puzzle game with platforming elements. It's not a platformer.
I would agree if it's not trying to also be a platformer. I would agree. If it's not advertised and it's not
For a puzzle game, there's a whole lot of platforming in it.
Yeah.
Horrible.
I can see what you're going for. There's also, and this is going to be quite a bit of a tangent, there's also bits in that game where it just feels so dumb and pointless. Some of the bosses, and I say bosses loosely, because it's basically just a fucking blooper or whatever it is, the big one, tentacles, which you have to do constantly, and it just feels so pointless, because once you've done it once, nothing changes, and you do it I don't know, you have to do 2 phases of it, and it's this doesn't... There's no puzzle to this. This is just jumping on bits and pulling it off, and there you go.
I feel like that's an interesting point. And I feel like how you feel about that is largely dependent on the state of mind you're already in when you went into that boss battle having to do it again. Because I was like, oh, okay, I've already done this. Well, I'll just fucking power through it and then move on to the next one. And it didn't really bother me because I did the boss battle in about 30 seconds flat.
The thing is, though...
And then just moved
The fact
on.
that you have to describe it as powering through
Yeah.
it really shows how fun it is.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, as well, it's a 2-phase boss fight, but both phases are basically the same, and you have to do that same boss fight 3 times in the game.
I'm not saying it's fun. I'm just saying I didn't particularly take as
We're
much issue
breaking
with
them
it
down,
as...
boys.
That is one of the bits that I classed under boring instead of frustrating.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, it
I
was-
think that's... It's like, I look at it, I'm like, sure, whatever. That wasn't that fun. But I wasn't like, how fucking dare these goddamn Nintendo schmucks make me do this same battle again. I'd get it if it was like a super tedious 10-minute boss battle.
I will say
But
that I did get that
2 minutes.
feeling a little bit with the first 5 boss battles against the piranha plants.
Oh yeah, that one was pointless and stupid.
Yeah. You have to fight that thing like 5 times. Gooper Blooper you fight the 3 times, 2 of which are in the same world. And then, Jesus fucking Christ, Shadow Mario, oh my god. The amount of times you have to do the same goddamn chase. And it's not even really that fun. The first time.
What's the point of those Shadow Mario levels?
What's the point of them?
Yeah.
I don't know, they thought it was fun? Question mark?
I mean, again, I kind of really enjoyed the Shadow Mario levels.
I mean, I guess the thing they were going for with the Shadow Mario levels is they want you to be able to put into practice the skills that you've learned throughout the level and the layout of the level. And then also put into practice the aiming of FLUDD while you're walking, which you can't really do on the Switch version because you don't have the analog control anymore.
I enjoyed thinking about it and being like, what route is he taking? Figuring that out. Figuring how I can take shortcuts around the map, around the level that I know, to kind of intercept him and get in range.
Yeah.
And then kind of learning that, like, you can make him go different ways depending on the position you are relative to him.
It's almost like an evolution of the rabbit in 64, where it's like if you miss him slightly, he'll go one way or the other way, and he'll do certain different things.
So you can use that to funnel him down certain routes to the point where towards the end of it, I was doing the Shadow Mario stages in like 30 seconds.
Yeah, and to be fair, like, I don't have a problem with the Shadow Mario levels for that reason, where it was like, okay, I'm actually, like, thinking about this, and it feels quite fun to, like, manipulate his movements, essentially. So stuff like that, where it's like, okay, you're actually thinking about this, and it's quite fun. But the point I was making with the bosses wasn't that I was, like, tearing my hair out, it was so frustrating, but it's just the fact that this game clearly has a thing of, like, it feels like it's a puzzle game masked under a platformer. But then there's just bits like that which felt like I didn't think at all. I just kind of pushed buttons and just my mind was just completely blank and I just kind of went through it and didn't really think about it at all.
While we're on bosses, it just reminded me of the King Boo boss battle. I don't know if you guys found it as frustrating as I did, but
which one?
The King Boo one.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Remember. I was trying to remember it, but yes, I remember that one.
Yeah. I think the thing with that one is it upsets me a little bit because it's got all the key elements of a good boss, right? Like it's not entirely obvious what to do straight away, and once you figure it out, it's like, oh, that's what I do, and then you do it, and it'll be cool. The problem is that it's all based around RNG, and you've just got to get lucky that it's going to spawn what you need it to.
It takes the bad thing about, like, a boss where it's like, I need to wait for it to do this move and then, like, counteract it. Like, that's the only move where it's vulnerable. It takes that, but just takes it to another level of, okay, it just really does feel like I have a low chance of getting this and I'm just waiting.
Yeah, I feel like I lucked out with that one.
Oh, really?
Is because I got, like, random spawn fruit, random spawn, coins when I was low on HP. Fruit.
Oh my god.
Or something like that. I admit, like, I understand why I didn't have a bad time with it, because like I said, I got lucky. But I can understand if you were like coins, random coins,
Yeah.
random fruit, coins. I'd get frustrating. But I lucked out, so sucks to be you, I suppose.
I think the first and the second fruit, I wasn't entirely sure what to do, just because I was having a bit of a mind blank. So, like, I was throwing fruit at him, and I was like, what do I do then? And then eventually I realised, oh, okay.
It is rather counterintuitive that you have to throw a hot pepper at an ethereal ghost.
Yeah, but it's
Come on,
Mario. It
Nintendo.
doesn't really
Get
make
with it.
sense.
Yeah, I think that boss particularly frustrated me because it could have been a really good battle, and it was just frustrating to play because of how long you had to wait for everything.
I would imagine it's doubly frustrating because the potential for it to be a good battle is literally in the game.
Yeah.
It's not even like,
Yeah.
oh, if they tweaked this one thing, it would have been good. It's like, you could, like I did, you could have had a good run, a good set of RNG that made it feel fun.
Yeah. Definitely.
I don't know about you guys. I was fucking slipping off platforms left and right this game.
Are you talking about when you like walk slightly off the edge and it just throws you off?
And most games would be like, oh, you're a little bit off the platform, but we'll give you that. We'll let you jump. This game, nope.
This game.
What's the term for it?
Coyote time.
Coyote time.
Yeah.
Most games are good and have that, and Mario Sunshine was like, well, don't need this shit. If you're not on that platform, you're falling, motherfucker. Again, another one of those like courtesy things that most platformers will do, like the air control, to make it feel more intuitive.
I want to shock you and say that I didn't find that issue. But again, it's probably because you guys are probably used to leaving that jump until like the last fucking possible second. I was jumping like miles before I got to the ledge.
It makes sense. Like if you're playing a game,
it makes sense to you guys who know how the game works.
Well, it makes sense if you want to get as much distance as possible, right?
Exactly. If you're trying to get distance, most people are going to run as far to the edge as they possibly can, which means that inherently most people are probably going to overshoot it.
Yes, then
times.
you learn not to.
And especially, you feel the need to do it, especially after coming from something like Mario 64 where you had a long jump. Whereas this game got rid of it entirely and makes you rely on FLUDD, except for when you don't have FLUDD.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only times it became a problem was when it was in Secret Shines, where it's like, or even levels where it just took the flood away.
Yeah.
That's when I noticed it clearly.
And no backflip, for some reason.
Well, there is a backflip.
There is a backflip, but...
When you're using FLUDD.
Oh, when you're using FLUDD as Mario, you can't. You're right. That said, in fairness to the game, while the backflip isn't always available, the side flip is so much easier to execute now. You can do it from standing still.
I mean, I was honestly going to bring that up as a negative.
Oh, really?
I feel like it's just dumb. Like, why? Like, I would sometimes like. I found myself doing it by accident sometimes. It just doesn't make sense.
See, I made frequent use of that on the secret levels.
It also seems to be programmed in such a way that you can very easily do a side jump forwards, which is also kind of goes against what it's supposed to be. Because like usually you run and then you pull back in the opposite direction, press jump, and you jump back in the direction you came from.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Right, yeah.
But then, like, you seem to be able to do a thing in this game where you can run, pull back, then push forward again and press jump, and you'll do the side flip, but you'll go forwards.
Flick the stick backwards and forwards. Yeah.
Yeah, I did that all the time in that game, and it's not how the side jump has ever worked in any other Mario, and I feel like they just didn't account for it.
I would say that's not a bad thing at all, though.
I think that's intentional, to be honest.
I mean, I'm not saying it's a huge problem, I'm just saying it seems kind of dumb. I don't know.
Okay.
You seem kind of dumb.
A very well-made point, Max. You're right. I didn't think about that. I could have forgiven this game for so many of its atrocities, right? If they had just made a good platformer.
But they did.
But they didn't, though. Like, I never felt safe with this game.
Wait. They did make a good platformer. They just didn't make a conventional platformer. Can we at least agree on that?
No.
But you said they made a good puzzle game, not a platformer.
They made a good strategy game, maybe.
Yeah. They made a good puzzle game.
I never felt safe with these with these tools, right? Like, even with Mario 64, right? The controls in that are janky as hell, but I feel like I get to a point with Mario 64 that, like, I know how it works and I can use it well. But with Sunshine, I never felt totally safe with that game. I always felt like my instincts were going to betray me at every turn because the game does not take that into your player instincts into account. It just, like, it betrays you at every fucking
I wouldn't
turn.
call that player instincts. I would call that game convention. Which is what you instinctively come to do.
I don't know. I feel like the reason those game conventions exist is because those are the things that players inherently want to do.
Well, I mean,
most players, obviously not you.
I think
Coyote Time was largely made because people kept fucking up and going too far off a ledge. Like, so basically, instead of telling them to get good, they were
user error.
User error, right? Instead of telling someone to get good, they're like, no, we'll give you a bit of extra time.
So really, it's the people's fault, the developers.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the thing is, Mix, outside of games, when someone fucks up, their immediate thought is to reverse what they just did, right?
Are we talking, like, generally? Because there are quite a few life decisions I wish I could reverse.
So, the implementation with the air control...
You go where I think you're going with this.
Is literally, you're going one direction, you're like, no, I regret this, I don't want to do this anymore, I want to get on the platform, you pull back on the stick instinctually. Like, it's nothing to do with the convention of the game. There are certain things in this game that are based on game convention, but I think some of the issues are just... It doesn't account for how a person plays the game.
It doesn't... No, that's not true. That's not true. It doesn't account for how people are used to platformers working. Again, I keep coming back to this. In Dark Souls, if you fuck up and go the wrong... You don't get a second chance.
But most people don't find that fun. I mean, I feel like even in a Dark Souls game, assuming you're leveled appropriately for the boss that you're fighting, there's still rarely ever a case where a Dark Souls boss is going to kill you instantly from, like, full health. Usually,
that is entirely
false. I mean,
in
the very beginning of the first game, there's a boulder that instantly kills you because you went up some stairs.
Oh, okay.
That is inherently false.
Maybe I don't know Dark Souls.
Can I just say as well, the fact that we're comparing a fucking Mario mainline game to fucking Dark Souls is the point that I'm trying to make, where it's like, this just does not feel like a fucking platform, like a mainline. This feels like Mario the Lost Levels, right?
Yeah.
This feels like Mario 2, the Japanese version.
I'm not denying that people might... the point I'm trying to make is, I'm not denying that you might not find the game fun. Like, that's fun subjective, right? I am going to defend the game from people being like, no, it sucks. It's inherently a bad game. It's not. You might not like the decisions that were made, and the way they made the game, and that's fair. That's a valid point. And all the points you made about no air control, I imagine would suck if you're coming from a experienced platforming background. But I don't think you can say they're inherently bad decisions or make it a bad game. You can just say, I disagree with them.
You can, if the game is made for people who enjoy platformers and who enjoy platform. I would hope so. It's a fucking Mario game. It completely missed its target audience, is what you're saying.
Where did it state its target audience?
From the fact that it's a Mario game, it's a mainline platformer.
I've never heard anyone until today, like within the last hour, describe a Mario game as a strategy game.
Okay, I'll give you this, right? If the game had gone in the direction from Mario 1 to the Japanese Super Mario 2, right, and it continued in that direction, I'd be like, you know what, fair enough, that's the direction they want to take a Mario game. But they reeled it back with the third one, and they went, no, we're not going to make our games just absurdly difficult for the sake of just making absurdly difficult. We're just going to make good platformers. And they did that. And now they're like, no, fuck it, we want to make this game really difficult now.
Last episode, we compared Mario 64 to the first Super Mario Bros. In the way that it was designed. And in a very similar way, Sunshine is like Mario Bros. 2.
Yeah, it feels like the Japanese Mario Bros. 2. You would have thought they had learnt from their mistake, right? But then it still controls like Super Mario Bros. I don't care about like its level design or whatever. It still fundamentally is Super Mario Bros.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas this is just a completely different Mario. I don't know. It just baffles me because Super Mario 64 did so well, and it had glaring issues that they could have just been like. I feel like they've done that with a lot of their sequels. They've just taken what's gone wrong in the previous one and just went, we're just going to do that but better and then also add in this new thing. And yet Sunshine is just that odd child who's like, just got this sculpture and they're just kind of fucking mushing it together and just going, fuck it, this is cool for us. And everyone just kind of looks at it like, what the fuck is this?
I feel like we've really gotten into the meat of the issue here, the difference between our perceptions of it.
Yeah, this is why I was so interested to figure out why it was, because I know there would be a reason.
Yeah. I really thought it was just that Max was in complete denial. Not gonna lie.
No, I mean, I kind of expect that to be the case going into it, of like, I mean, I probably just remember this game as like, differently to how it actually is. But I still enjoyed it just as much.
I do have some tidy up stuff for the controls.
Okay.
Just a few small
You're going to just rattle through those?
Firstly.
I'll say, yeah, just rattle them off.
Anyone notice how when you do a slide and then you jump, you do that like flip out of the slide, you can't use the hover mode after that.
Yep.
You can use it, but it doesn't
work.
actually propel you. You just keep falling.
That always
I
annoyed
know
me, yeah.
So, why? There's absolutely no reason for that. I'm still of the opinion that you should not be able to dive up fucking mountains. The way, like,
that is fucking jank.
So, it's just so weird.
I don't know if the video is going to be put up on the screen, but oh my god, the clip of it is just fucking jank.
Put up my LPNTissimo race.
Oh god, okay.
That is fucking jank. That fucking, and it's happened a lot actually in that game. Also, I do actually want to say something positive for the controls. Like, funnily enough, did anyone just find themselves just like going around Delfino Plaza, just like flipping around and just doing jumps randomly?
Yes.
Like, just messing around with the controls. Because I did actually find that really fun, personally. Like, I just found myself like diving and flipping out of it and just flipping.
I did actually
roofs,
find
like,
myself between levels just running around absent-mindedly around the rooftops.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just found it quite fun, actually. Like, I will say, to its credit...
That's the thing. It's very... The way it actually feels to move around is very, like, it's fast and it's tight, the way it controls, and that part of it is really fun.
I think when there's not a challenge being given to you, it's fun.
Yeah.
See, imagine the feeling that you guys were just going about being able to run around Delfino Plaza. Right? Imagine that for the entire game.
Right, but the thing is...
That was my experience.
When I'm running around in Delfino Plaza, I will fall off the rooftops sometimes, and I won't really care because it was never my intention to stay on top of them.
Max, that wasn't your experience with the game. Your experience with the game was that, but littered with, like, 2 minutes of watching platforms move before you make a decision.
But anyway,
no, I do agree.
Next point. I found myself rarely ever running out of water. And usually when I did, the game would just, like, spawn enemies that drop water balls.
Yeah.
So you're never really in, like, danger of running out of water. Because thematically, I love the idea of having to go and refill your water. Mm-hmm. But gameplay-wise, it makes me think, would it have been better to just not have that and just have infinite water?
Yeah.
Or even just make it more limited.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if it had been more limited, I would have actually thought it would have been better, because it would have been like, okay, this actually has a purpose now. But it just doesn't really feel like it has a purpose.
Yeah, they needed to do one or the other, and they sat somewhere in between where it's sort of there, but it doesn't need to be there.
Yeah. Okay, another thing. These controls are fucked, man. So, I had this issue where I would have a lot of times where I would want to go up a wall. So I would jump at it, wall kick off, and then I would want to hover and move backwards onto the top of the wall. Mm-hmm. But it's so awkward because when you start using the hover mode, the camera automatically starts turning to face the direction that Mario is facing, which fucks up your input.
Yep.
Because as the camera turns, the direction that you're inputting changes, right? So then it ends up doing this really awkward, slow turn, and you end up not being able to gain any momentum. And it just feels really annoying, especially considering that there's a button dedicated to recentering the camera. I have one more thing to say about the controls.
All right.
So you know how in most games, you turn the camera, and where the camera would turn into, there's a wall there, so it will spring inwards to be closer to the character.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's kind of squished up against the wall.
Yeah,
and
I
then
know
as you
what
go
this is
past it, it'll
going.
come out. Yeah. In this game, it will do one of two things. It will either clip through the wall, or it just doesn't move. It just hits the wall and doesn't go through.
It's like it gets hooked on.
And it was so annoying. And sometimes it's not even walls. Sometimes it's elements in the level. Like, I swear to God, the fucking... You know the wires that you walk across?
Yeah.
The poles that hold them up collide with the camera. So sometimes I'd be trying to turn around and like the watermelon level, right? I was trying to turn the camera around to position myself in the right way to spray the watermelon, and the camera was hitting the fucking pole, and I was like, are you kidding me? This is so stupid.
Yeah.
Why is it hitting the pole? Why is that collision happening?
I just want to point out, I'm hearing a lot of complaints right now
Yes.
that was similar to the complaints that I had about Super Mario 64.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
sure.
And your responses were, just learn how the camera works.
But we've learnt how the camera works, and it's broken, and there's no way to get
You've
around
learned how a camera works.
No. We've learnt how the sunshine camera works, and say it gets hooked on a piece of geometry. I just loaded up the game while we were talking to test it out, and I could not turn the camera in any direction to let it zoom in onto Mario because it was behind a wall. And so I had to move Mario out of the way so I could zoom in the camera to him.
So you mean there was an object between you and Mario?
Yes.
Okay.
So I couldn't see anything.
What scenario have you gotten into where there's a fucking wall between you and Mario?
It's happened many times.
I never had that.
Because you're very, very careful about your jumps.
Okay, so one of the things that really killed this game for me as well is the levels are designed to be very open, like Mario 64 style, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the progression of the game is very linear, like Mario Galaxy, like the overall game. So it's there's this feeling of like you can go anywhere you want in the level, right? But there's only one direction that's right, and if you go anywhere else, there'll just be some fucking NPC that's like, oh, you went the wrong way, go somewhere else. And it's like, it's just constantly telling you to run away and go find the right thing to do. So it's like, why are these levels open and allowing me to run around just for me to hit a dead end and have to go back the other way? Like, why? Makes exploring the levels feel so pointless.
That's one of the things Super Mario 64 did that I really liked, was the fact that I can just do it however... Well, for the most part, there are a few exceptions.
There's a few things in sequence in Mario 64.
There's a few exceptions, but for the most part, you can just kind of do what you want and just go for the star that... Because you could just find a star in a level and just be like, okay, I'll just go for that one.
Sunshine is not that. You can only do one star.
I would largely agree with that as well.
Yeah.
And it also, to me at least, I had no incentive to go back after I'd done the seven shines.
No.
Because I was like, well, I'm done here now. I'm not going to find anything else.
Like, the thing is, to be positive about the game, again, for once, like, I liked the way the level, like, things about the... Like, I liked the way the levels changed in between the different episodes. You know, it felt like there was like narrative progression there. I liked the way that they were very populated with a lot of NPCs in them, and I liked I liked how they were designed to be very, you know, open and feel like real locations as well. That's one thing. Like, I feel like a lot of 3D Marios have this problem of like certain levels kind of feel like they're just objects placed in a skybox.
They feel like the secret levels.
Like the secret levels. Yeah. like Sunshine did it the opposite way of like actually designing the levels to look like real locations instead of that, and I was like, I liked that about it.
I think one of the fantastic things was that you can actually see the other levels in the distance of every level as well.
Yes, that was another thing. I really liked that. I really liked that as well.
Also, I feel like we can't talk about the point of like linearity with the episode stuff without talking about the fucking 100 coin shines.
Oh my god.
Don't know what you mean, mate. Never did them. Never touched them.
It's so dumb. On 64, not only is it like actually viable to like get 100 coins in a lot of the episodes, it actually lets you do the star that you're currently doing like after you do 100 coins.
Yep.
Super Mario Sunshine is not only we're just going to make it next to fucking impossible, and even impossible in some episodes, to get 100 coins. Not only that, we're going to throw you out the level when you get the 100 coin. It's like, it's so dumb. Why did they take that out when they had it in 64?
Yeah.
Don't know what you mean. Don't know what you mean, mate.
On the same point, there were certain levels, like when you're trying to do the blue coins, certain blue coins don't appear on every episode.
Wait, really?
You have to go to a specific episode
there are
to
specific
get them.
blue coins.
That's
like,
probably
there's
why I don't
one where
have
you
them.
There's one where you have
Dumb
to
as hell.
spray a sign at the very start of the level, and you only get that on one specific episode.
Oh my god.
It's so dumb.
Yeah,
So dumb.
I didn't realise the game expected me to fully explore the level 8 times, so...
Yeah, you don't expect it.
Exactly. Why would you do that?
I mean, this goes on to the point of, like, when I tried to 100% the game, that's when the frustration really started to kick in, with the blue coin specifically, because it just feels... It feels like they wanted to sell Nintendo powers. I'm sorry, but some of those blue coins were just like, look up a strategy guide.
The thing is that with the blue coins is I really feel like they were supposed to be considered extra content. Like, I think I compared them before to the Korok seeds from Breath of the Wild, where Nintendo never expected everyone to get all of them. It was more just...
No, I do agree. And I'm not saying, like, my point is, like, the most fair, because it is completely optional. You don't need to do it at all. I just did it because...
Yeah. I mean,
guess
especially
I wanted to suffer
considering
more.
for some reason the extra shines don't count towards beating the game whatsoever, so they're sort of pointless.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I found that I actually stopped exploring Delfino Plaza pretty quickly. Once I had seen everything, like, because there are hidden stars that you need the jet like attachments and the various flood nozzles to get to. I didn't even bother getting those once I got the attachments.
yeah,
Because, like, well, I'm not planning on 100%ing it, and this isn't like Super Mario 64 where I can get these and get closer towards the end, so what's the point?
Yeah, sure. This game just felt like it was a chore to do it. A chore that I didn't need to do, admittedly. Like, there was no reason for me to do it, but I don't know, it's just, there's no benefit to, 100% it.
Here's the thing, though. I feel like a lot of games have cracks that start to showing you 100% them.
Yeah, for sure.
The thing is about the like secret stuff in Sunshine, right? Is that, like, I guess secret stuff should be hidden to a degree, right? But there's some stuff hidden in that game that in places that you would never fucking think to look for them.
but you could argue that the idea of the secret shines being actually secret is fine because they don't help you in progression whatsoever. They are just extra things on the side. One of those ones was the grass level, which is just off in a corner of Delfino Plaza.
Yeah, that one was a bit bullshit. Yeah.
And it's so out of where you wouldn't really look, but if you did, it would be pretty amazing to find a shine there. Like, if you weren't trying to 100% it, right?
Also, I don't know whose idea it was to put the fucking entrance and method to get the fucking lily pad level, but fuck that individual specifically, right? Because
there seems to be this design pattern in this game, right, of having long, boring, tedious challenges, right, followed by a super difficult platforming challenge. And it's like, and there's no, there may be a checkpoint in between, but, like, again, if you game over, you have to go through the whole tedious thing again. And the lily pad ride is the same, so you have to do the Yoshi boat jump thing, which is really frustrating and takes forever. Which then leads into the lily pad ride, which is broken as all fuck. The last episode of Rico Harbor, we have to do the jumps with the Yoshi.
Oh my god,
fuck.
getting the correct
that
fruit for that Yoshi.
Collecting the fruit, and you have to do the fucking spin.
Yeah,
and
you just have...
Oh, the fucking spin jump.
You literally...
Why does it spawn
You literally
random
just press
fruit?
a button and it spawns a random fruit, and if it's not the right fruit you need, you just go press it again. And so, why is this a thing?
It's not even Yoshi wanting different fruit. He always wants the same fruit.
He always wants the durian. And then if you die on the Yoshi bit, you have to do all of that again. And also, most of the no flood levels are basically that same thing of like, you have to go through, a kind of boring bit in the actual level that's not very challenging, and then you get into the no flood thing, and it's like, well, if you die there, you've got to go back to the level again. It's like, there's so many things in this game. Like, for some reason, this is a repetitive pattern in this game, and I don't know why the people who designed this game think that's fun. Who thinks that's fun? I don't get it. Who are these people?
Max, can you explain it to us? Can you explain why it's fun?
Yeah.
Max. Why did you do this, Max?
I mean, in regards to the getting to the secret stage, I don't know. I didn't find that an issue.
I wish you had gone to the lily pad level, because that bit is just waiting for
maybe
10 minutes.
I'll go back after this just because.
I went there the first time, and I missed a coin, and I was like, oh, there was pipes or something at the top of it, so I'll just jump into this pipe,
that was
because
another
it'll reset
thing.
me, right? Because that would be good game design.
Yes, that was that's literally the point underneath.
Yeah, and so I jumped into the pipe, and it reset me into Delfino Plaza, and I had to do the boat for a second time, and do it all again, and yeah, I still missed a coin several times, and had to walk up really slowly along the edge to get back on the lily pad.
Thankfully, the lily pad does respawn.
But it should just respawn
it should be the
level.
pipe. It should be the pipe.
Oh.
Yeah. It's like, why? Why would anyone think that it's going to send you back to the plaza? Especially, again, after the fucking bullshit you have to do just to get there. The fucking Yoshi boat.
Doesn't the shine reset you to the plaza anyway?
Yeah, it does.
So what is the point in the pipe?
Who knows? Who fucking knows?
I have no comment. Again, I didn't do that part.
Yeah, thank God you didn't.
And then you have Pachinko.
At least you could get there quickly.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
True.
But people give Pachinko a lot of shit. I actually found lily pad way more fucking frustrating.
Oh, I game over like 3 times on Pachinko.
Pachinko, because it was just the method of getting there just wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the most frustrating, because at the end of the day, it was just all about fucking luck on that bit. It's just RNG on, will this ledge throw me off one way or will it throw me off the other way? It didn't feel too frustrating.
So anyone think it was weird, where you basically just have to walk through an area and then just to load another area? Like the beginning of fucking the amusement park.
Yeah, that's odd.
Or is it Pina Park? It's like, why is that beach bit at the front even a separate level? Like, why is it loaded differently? There's no reason for that. It even plays a different cutscene before you go into it. It's like, why are they doing this? Like, why isn't this all just one level?
I have to assume it originally was, and it was a performance problem. They had to separate.
Yeah, more than likely.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of moving shit in the theme park.
Yeah.
And you also have the Bowser fight in the first, Mecha Bowser in the first one, which might have caused issues if it had been all together. I don't know.
I feel like at this point we can get onto the story, quote unquote, and the ending of the game.
Is there one?
What, how Mario's a fucking convict at the beginning?
Yeah, the
cutscenes.
I just kind of faded out from being honest.
I don't blame you.
The story integration in this game feels so just disjointed and rushed. Like it almost feels like it was an afterthought, except it feels like that. I don't think it was.
No, I don't think so.
I think they wanted to put more in, but then again, I just think they've run out of time. And then it ends up getting to a point where after 10 stars or shines, the story just stops.
Yeah.
It stops on that cutscene. Literally the last thing it's the bit where Bowser Jr. reveals himself. And he takes Peach in their flying ship and they fly off into the distance. And Flood says, looks like they're headed for Corona Mountain. That's literally the last line in that cutscene. So I thought to myself, oh, okay, the next part of the game is at Corona Mountain, I guess. And so then when I got back to the hub world, I started trying to head over in that direction. Like, trying to figure out where is that? Like, let's try and work our way over there. Maybe there's a new level to unlock in that direction. And there isn't. There's that's really, literally not relevant at all. At that point in the game, you just have to start collecting shines randomly until you have, you've done enough that then it's like, okay, now here's the ending.
Yeah.
And it's like 10 shines that you do that bit, and then you have to go up to another 50, 60 shines before you unlock Corona Mountain. And it's just so weird that for so much of that game, it almost ends up making the rest of the game feel so directionless, because it gives you it sets up that motivation for you of where you're supposed to be going, but then the story disappears, and then it's just find your own. But it's just so odd.
It is very
weird.
No,
I think that's a fair point to make.
Small thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird that the game makes you beat it once you have enough stars. Like in any other Mario, you can just get as many stars as you want and then beat it. But in this one, once you get to that point, it locks off all the levels. It's now you have to beat the game. And it's oh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That was weird.
Feels like there should have been more story beats between you've now beat Shadow Mario in every world, and now he's flooded the place to force you to go and confront him in Corona Mountain. It feels like there should have been more story beats between there to kind of explain the situation.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Oh, God.
So
the last level. It's so unbelievably rushed. It's actually just laughable.
Yeah.
Oh, the final boss specifically.
And the final level and the final boss as well.
Can I pull out what I feel like I've been saying this entire episode of? I didn't really have any problems with the final level.
None at all.
Nope.
It wasn't that there was anything particularly frustrating or annoying about the level. It was that it was so bland.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of short. That's the only criticism I could level against
it. Was literally 2 types of platforms for half of it, and then you drive a boat, and you're at the end.
And the fucking boat.
And then you got collectible boat.
Ugh.
And then
look, it's not my fault you guys don't get physics.
All I'm saying is that they could have taken any of the secret levels from earlier in the game, removed one of them from one of the levels, and put it at the end, and it would have been more satisfying.
I remember, I just remember so distinctly running around doing the ground pound things at the Bowser level. And, as I was about to do the last one, just thinking to myself, is this really it? Is this really the
That's what I thought. I was like,
it's just
there
so
has to
disappointing.
Be more.
It's I feel like I did nothing. I feel like this, I got here and I beat it in 5 seconds, and it's just so unbelievably underwhelming for the amount of bullshit I had to do to get here, and then you give me this as a finale. Is just insulting, honestly.
That boss felt like a phase 1 and then nothing else.
Yeah.
It was okay, yes. where's the next phases?
Oh yeah, no, the last boss sucked. This is one bit of it I'm not going to defend. Yeah, the last boss was shit.
Yeah.
I think it links into what Kyle said of there are parts of the game that just feel not as fleshed out as they were clearly intended to be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely feels like that.
Also, has nothing to do with the game, really, but can we talk about Bowser's voice for a second?
Oh, no.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Thank God that's the only time he ever has a voice. Not that I want it, but Jesus.
How did that happen? Everyone else is fine in that game. Peach's voice is great. Toadsworth is great. Bowser Jr. is great. Fucking Bowser. Fucking Bowser.
Oh, hey, son. How's it going?
Mario, how dare you interrupt my summer vacation? Like,
Why?
what is this?
If they had just taken that voice and lowered the pitch as well, and done something with it, it would have at least sounded like slightly better. It just sounds like someone trying to imitate his voice really fucking badly.
It's pretty awful.
I don't know, maybe it sounds better in Japanese. I don't know, I've not played that version.
That's a fair point. I've not seen a Japanese version.
Mario jumps up. Bowser's like, Nani?
Queer?
Oh, God.
You know, we didn't talk about the boat at all, by the way.
Because we've established
No,
that
the
the boat is
boat's
just these two
shit.
being shit.
I feel like we
I
argued.
want to say, for context as well, because no one will know on this episode, it took 3 people to
No, it
discuss
did.
the
Holy
boat,
fuck.
right?
We all were arguing in our Facebook chat about the boat and why it sucked. And then as the argument transpired, it became obvious that we all had very different ideas of how this boat worked. And then we eventually
The thing
figured
is,
out how
To
it
be
actually
clear,
works.
I started the conversation by saying the boat didn't suck. It works in a very strange way, but it's very consistent. So when you know the rules of it, you can go ahead with it.
But it does not work at all like you would think that it should.
Yeah,
But it does
that's
work
the point.
physically
That's
well.
the point I'm trying to make. It works when you know. Like, I didn't have a problem with how it worked. Like, when you said like how it worked, it's like, yeah, okay, fair enough, right? That's just how they made it. But I'm going into it's again the point of instinctually. I'm going onto this boat. It has a large surface area. I'm expected to run around it, I guess. So you would think like, oh, I shoot left side, it goes right. That's just what you think instinctually. And it doesn't. And then you have to sit there being like, oh, how does this work? It's like you shouldn't need to be like, how does this work?
See,
When
I
it's
get-
just like
I-
it's just platforming. It's just you just
I get the
instinctually
point
know.
you're trying to make. But on the other hand, I find it bizarre.
Find what bizarre.
Fine, what was that?
The idea you'd be like, players shouldn't have to think about things. They should just know how things are. Like,
No, they shouldn't have to sit there and really think about
well,
it. is the
that's
point.
what I had to do though. Because bear in mind, when we had that discussion about it, I hadn't actually seen or played that boat yet. So I was like, okay, how does it work? And I thought it'd work, and then I watched the guy doing it, and I was like, oh, it works like that. Okay, that makes sense. It took me maybe 10 seconds to
But
understand
then when you're
how it
when
worked.
you're put in a position where you fire backwards and you see your boat power into the fucking pillar, and you're just like, oh fuck, how's this boat work? And then you fire to the left, you end up going fucking left, and you're like, wait, what? And you end up fucking crashing into the pillar. You're just like, okay.
Yeah.
And the problem is, if this game hadn't have felt like a really buggy piece of shit for a lot of the time, I would have been like, okay, I need to learn the boat, right? But instead, my first thought, because of what I've been through, this game's like, I felt like, oh, this game's it's just a fucking glitch. Because this doesn't make any fucking sense.
Just seems like a strange choice for a Mario game.
Yeah, especially with the thing of like moving 1 centimeter down is the difference between
But,
it going
again,
100% right and 100% left. Is just
It comes
a
back
bit
to what I
weird.
was saying. Like, I don't think, and I suppose we can kind of head towards the conclusion now. I don't think the game's inherently bad. I just think it does a lot of weird and non-Mario conforming things.
It's a great game layered under this really fucking weird. I don't know. Like it has so much potential, and I think that's why I was just so disappointed with it. Because I wanted to like it so many times. I was like, this is good. And the secret shines, I was like, this has so much potential to be good. I enjoyed some of it, and then it's just like, no.
So I think what we can take away from this is Nintendo failed miserably to make a family-friendly platformer, but somehow out of that they accidentally made a new genre in the form of the strategy platformer.
Yeah, sure, I'll take that.
All right.
Well, they innovated in that way. Good job,
Nintendo always innovating.
Super Mario Sunshine, the best strategy platformer we've ever played.
The only strategy platformer we've ever played.
Exactly, and that's why it's the best.
God.
Sure, I'll get.
I still hate it. You're not changing my mind on that. I fucking hate that game.
So, I suppose to kind of close up, if you had to pay for this game, would you buy it? And how much would you feel comfortable paying for it, I suppose? So, let's go with Nico first.
Can I get them to pay me to play it?
No. that's not an option, I'm afraid.
It's difficult, because there's a lot there. It's a full game, right?
Yeah,
I can't fault the amount of content. So I feel like it would be unfair for me to just be like, oh, £10, right?
10 quid, mate.
10 quid. Because it has the content there.
Yeah. This is bearing in mind that when those games were launched, they were, 30 quid, I think?
Yeah.
Is the average price of the game?
Roughly 30, 35, I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway. If I could go back and be like, would I buy this game? I would not buy this game.
I suppose the better question to be, would you recommend that someone else buys it? Is probably a better way to phrase that.
Yeah.
If you like Dark Souls, Dota, maybe you'll find some enjoyment in this.
Puzzle platformers, right?
Maybe you'll enjoy it. But if you're looking for a Mario game, I can't recommend this.
All right. Kyle.
Just knowing what I went through with this game, maybe someone, I could recommend this game to someone and maybe they would have the same experience Max had. But knowing that there's any possibility that they might have the same experience I had, I don't want to be responsible for putting someone through that. So I would feel guilty for the rest of my life. So I'm going to go ahead and say, no, I would never fucking recommend this game to anyone.
All right.
Fuck this game.
Keanen?
Funnily enough, I was going to say I would recommend it for 10 quid, Nico. Because it is a full game and all that, as you were saying. And it does have a lot of good points. As long as... I don't know. It has a lot to offer if you look in the right places. It's just... a large portion of the game can be so frustrating. And you'd have to be resistant to that.
I would agree with that, actually. If you're paying 10 quid for this and your only goal was to just get to the start and beat the game, right, and not 100% it, not go through like any secret shines, whatever, your whole purpose is to just play it from start to finish on the boss, then yeah, I would say 10 quid or even 15 quid, I'd go as far as saying. Or whatever the dollar equivalent or whatever fucking currency. But yeah, like if you're paying that much, then yeah, I'd be happy to say that.
Yeah, I couldn't recommend this to a completionist. Like,
no.
No.
I suppose before this conversation, I would have said, yeah, I could recommend this. Now, I think I would still recommend it, but I would have to go in with the caveat of if you're expecting a standard Mario platformer game, that's not what this is.
If you're expecting any normal platformer, it's not what this is.
Yeah. I mean, I think if so, I would say, if you're the kind of person that's willing to adapt and adjust what your expectations are, then yeah, I'd say get it. But I'd say if you're just I just want a solid standard platform I can play, then this isn't it. But I think if you're willing to if you want something a little bit different, then yeah.
Well, if you want to play a Mario Sunshine game, what you would expect a Sunshine game to be, and not what you end up getting, just get Hat in Time.
Oh my god.
Just get that game.
You know what?
Just get that game.
Good point.
What we were saying about the secret levels being some of the most interesting levels, but the controls lay it down. Hat in Time has those same sort of secret levels, and they are the best part of the game. They're so fun.
Just get that game. If you want a Mario-like game and you want what Sunshine is trying to be, just get that game.
Is there flood in Hat in Time?
There is if you download mods.
You can get it.
You can mod it.
Go buy that game instead of this game, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
I would recommend this game. So I suppose the next thing to cover quickly before we bid farewell is what we're covering next episode. Kyle's very excited for this one. Kyle's very excited for this
After
one.
what I've been through with Mario Sunshine, I cannot think of anything more therapeutic for me
Can I just say,
them playing Galaxy again.
I'm feeling really platformed out right now.
Oh, really?
Like, I'm really feeling the platform. I mean, I'll play Galaxy because I feel like we have to finish the collection. But, like, I'm feeling really platform fatigued right now.
See, I just feel like my whole time of, like, 100% in Sunshine was just leading up to this moment of, if I just put myself through this, I can enjoy myself on Galaxy.
Like, yeah, so if it wasn't obvious, the next game is Super Mario Galaxy.
Yeah.
200%.
The last game of the collection.
Yeah.
And now, honestly, now understanding why you like Sunshine, I actually legitimately think you're going to think that Galaxy is boring.
Probably.
Yeah.
But anyway.
It wouldn't surprise me if I get very similar Super Mario 64 vibes from it.
Well, no, I mean, you're not going to dislike the controls. Controls are fun. Like, they managed... I think Galaxy is the first time where they got everything right.
I mean, the Sunshine controls are right. I suppose... I feel like we can skip over Kyle and probably Nico a little bit as well, because you both played it recently, right?
Played what?
No, I've barely touched it. Like, I don't.
Oh, okay.
Played what? Galaxy?
Galaxy, yeah.
I haven't played Galaxy in like
I was going to
6
say,
years.
it's been ages
Oh,
since
okay.
I've played
Right.
it.
Talk of it so highly. In that case, yeah, we'll do all of us. So, the quick one last time round the group. Kyle, what are you expecting from Super Mario Galaxy?
Absolute delight. Perfection of the highest degree.
So, a big stand to live up to. Right. Nico?
Well, I think from what you said with the linear curve, right? I think Sunshine was a definite dip in that.
What? Wait. Wait.
No, okay. It's not a straight line.
No. Be quiet, Nico. Are you calling Mario Sunshine a dip compared to Super Mario 64?
Yes.
No. What
100%.
I meant is it's not a straight line. It's more of a curve, right? Of like it didn't really go up that much quality wise. Right? But I feel like Galaxy is gonna like bring it back up. To be honest, I genuinely don't know what. Because the problem is, I can't say like what I prefer of like 64 and Sunshine. Because my nostalgia will always be, and I've played 64 to death, so I can't really say like what I prefer in a fair and balanced way, unfortunately. But if there is like an increase in quality, it is not that much. That curve is like going up just a little bit. So I hope Galaxy is going to be the thing to like get it back on track. It'll be like, we did this wrong, we did that wrong, let's just fix all that and make a solid Mario game. That's all I'm expecting.
Keanen?
Gonna preface it by saying I've 100%ed the game in the past, and Kyle and Nico, you have as well, haven't you?
Yeah, but this is like ages ago, so I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kyle, how many times have you beaten this game?
I don't even know at this point.
Yeah, so as you could probably tell, I've 100%ed it, so I obviously think quite highly of the game. I think we discussed last time that I don't think it's as amazing as everyone makes out, but it's still a brilliant game, and it's incredibly well designed. It's
goddamn Philistine.
Well, I don't want to put the game too highly either, because nostalgia's a thing that can like kind of fuck up your opinions on it.
Sure,
it can.
Like Sonic Heroes.
I think this was the first 3D Mario game that was truly polished. Like 64 and Sunshine had a lot of issues when it came to that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting a lot from this one. So it's very easy to be disappointed by it.
Better deliver.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of expecting what Kyle said. I'm kind of expecting to be a little bit bored by it. If I'm being honest, now, I'm not going in with that attitude, but that's what I am expecting. Is to maybe find it a little bit awesome.
You're going to have those extra tools that you're not going to use to correct your jumps and things like that.
Yeah.
Like this is the first 3D Mario game. Well, I suppose Flood is the same thing, where it's like you've got a tool to correct your jumps. So, like, in
Yeah.
Galaxy, you have the spin jump now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm expecting to, like, probably appreciate the game, but not find it terribly interesting. Because I reckon it's just going to be a lot of platforming. Shocked, I know.
There's not enough strategy in this.
Platforming in a platformer game? I don't know what this is. But I think that probably about wraps it up, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So, Keanen,
Yeah.
would you like to tell us a list of platforms we are on?
Oh god, okay. Currently, as of this moment, as of recording, we are on Spotify, and we're
Yep.
on Pocket Casts. We have an RSS feed as well, and we are on YouTube.
Yes.
There's more to come. We're hopefully going to be on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and a few other things as well.
Literally all the platforms.
Yeah.
Every single platform.
I should get on
Vivo,
SoundCloud as well.
Literally everything.
MySpace, SoundCloud, etc. Exactly.
So many places for people to not listen.
Exactly.
Club Penguin?
Oh.
Can you...
We could advertise in Club Penguin.
We could advertise in Club
So
Penguin.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this episode will be going out a long time
On
after.
Club Penguin.
On Club Penguin, exactly.
Club
That's where we're going to be publishing
Premiere.
it.
The episode will be going out in 2 weeks, next Saturday. Not
Fucking
next
hell.
Saturday. But it'll be the next time we record, essentially.
Whenever the fuck that is.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's the plan.
So, that's the plan. Episode soon.jpg.
Yes.
I hope anyone listening has an awful day. Like,
Max, I know one way you can guarantee that.
Super Mario Galaxy.
Sorry, you missed out Sunshine there. You said Galaxy instead.
Anyway.
You really got to work on that, Max, because you've made that mistake a couple times.
Because it's right.
Totally.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I suppose in that case, we will talk to you all in the next episode.
Bye.
Say bye.
I'm not gonna talk to them. I don't know them.
Not this again.
Also, we can't because it's a recording. It's not how this works.
Shut up, Kyle. Get out of my house.
I'm not in your head. You're in. We're so far away from each other right now. We're on Discord.